So you like to.
Namaskar. Today I will be discussing on a very specific theme, and that is the role of dharma and philosophy in India and in the West. What is the role of dharma and philosophy in India and West? Though dharma is not religion per se, religion has a different conception and dharma possesses different meaning. But here we are together. We are taking up the word dharma a as a religion only. The it's about the general conception. So first, let us define what is culture, because we are discussing role of dharma or the role of religion and philosophy in culture in India as in West. Sri Aurobindo defines culture in his magnum opus on Indian culture, Foundations of Indian Culture. He says, he says, culture of a people, because culture of a people means it's a collective conception. It is not an individual conception. So culture of a people may be roughly described as the expression. But expression of what? Expression of consciousness of life. What is my consciousness of life has their philosophies of it. You may not get all those things in their framework of what? That allows people to pursue their ideals. That allows people to pursue their ideal. And if society is unable to provide that framework, we have to call this society is not a cultural society. If society cannot provide that framework to express my higher ideal, one may say that society is not a cultural society. It is the responsibility of the society. So a society's politics and social structure create a framework that allows people to pursue their ideals and express their character despite challenges. So, in the language of the Maharishi, of its special character and nature under the difficulties of the environment. There are difficulties of the practical life. But still, whether this society is a cultural society or not, if we are to judge by this one phenomena, whether that society has been providing an effective framework so that I can express my higher ideal or not. And this framework shows how much a society has achieved. So society is the yardstick. Society is ultimately mirror of our art, poetry, literature, of our religion, of our philosophy. And how it has used its resources. Whether if a particular society has used, or polity has used all its resources on our mundane activities, then that society may not be called a cultural society. So society and politics are to create framework. It is the responsibility of the politics and society. So a society's politics and social structure create a framework that allows people to pursue their ideals and express their character despite challenges. Despite challenges. This framework shows how much a society has achieved and how it has used its resources and how it has shaped its life according to its values and spirit. If society cannot cannot manifest those higher thought, those higher ideal, we have to say that society is a failure. But no society of world has achieved these things. No society yet satisfactorily achieve the highest ideals put by their own country. No society has achieved. All are only laboring, all are only trying. And in India also, India's highest thought, highest ideal, we have been able to express those ideal in the field of mind. But in the society, but in the level of society, we have not been able to fully, we have not been able to fully express those ideals. So then, if we are to summarize the concept of culture of a people, then we have to say, then what is culture? Culture is nothing but expression of consciousness of life. Culture of a people can be roughly described as the expression of a consciousness to life, consciousness of life. So consciousness of life, but this consciousness of life has three aspects. First aspect is aspect of thought, aspect of ideal, aspect of upward will, and the aspect of soul's aspiration. And this consciousness of life, the second aspect of this consciousness of life is creative self-expression, appreciative aesthesis. Appreciative aesthesis, what does it mean? We have to be able to appreciate the aesthesis, because animal cannot appreciate. And that is why animal does not have any culture. But we have the power. We have the genius, so that I can appreciate your aesthetics. And I have to develop those powers. If I cannot develop those powers, I may be called an uncultured human being. So this is the second aspect of culture, that the creative self-expression. A nation or a people has to have their own creative self-expression. And if they do not have, that people is an uncultured people. So creative self-expression, appreciative aesthesis, intelligence, and imagination. This is the second aspect of consciousness of life. And what is the third aspect? The side of practical and outward formulation. Practical and outward formulation. And now the first aspect is taken care of by religion and philosophy of that people. Religion and philosophy of that people. Second aspect is taken care of by the art, literature, poetry of that nation. And the third aspect, that is to say, side of practical and outward formulation, is taken care of by its politics and society. So these are the 7 instrumentalities of our culture: religion, philosophy, art, poetry, literature, and the society and the politics. So by these 7 things, Maharishi has touched almost every aspect of human life. No aspect of human life has been left out. And by the 3 aspects, the aspect of thought, ideal, upward will, soul's aspiration, and secondly, creative self-expression, appreciative aesthesis, intelligence, imagination, and the side of practical and outward formulation. He has touched almost every part of human life, every aspect of human life. But now here in this session, we will be concentrating on the role of religion and philosophy in culture in India, and as well as in West. So Maharishi says the first distinctive character of Indian civilization. according to him. You may reject it, you may accept it, you may throw it away. Because this is a free world. This is a free world. You are a free citizen of a free world. And this freedom is not given by me. This highest freedom was given by Krishna to Arjuna. In the verse number 63, chapter number 18, Krishna says, now what you will do, Arjuna? I have told you almost 700 slokas. Now what you will do? If Krishna would have been a dogmatic religious man, he would have said, you have to follow me. You have to follow me. But Krishna says, Jatasya tatha kuru. Whatever you like, you do. But he has only small request after due reflection. Please go through whatever I have said. So this is the kind of liberty, spiritual liberty, India has provided to her people. No country, no religion has provided this supreme freedom. Krishna, even after uttering 700 slokas, in verse number 63, chapter number 18, says, Jatasya tatha kuru, jatha issa tatha kuru. Do whatever you like. But my only request is to, after due reflection. So accordingly, my appeal to you, you may accept it, you may reject it, you may throw it away. But Maharishi says, what is the distinctive character of Indian civilization? According to, but you have not found anything of this aspect in your society, in your politics, is not it? Because our India's surface society, India's surface politics does not represent India at all. And to that extent, Indian society, whether it is a cultural society or not, it is a doubtful. But Indian art represents India's vision. India's culture, India's literature, India's philosophy reflects Indianness, but not the society and politics. Till today, they are a great failure. Yes, they are trying hard, but they have not been able to fully manifest those ideas. But still, Indian civilization, Maharishi says, philosophy and religions have led. You may accept it, reject it, throw it away. The rest follows as best they can. And you can realize this thing when you will be able to enter the inner India. Because there are three India, there are three layers of India. First is surface India. It is almost alike. All 750 crores people of this world are alike. All nations are alike in the surface level. If you want to know the real India, you have to get into the hearts of India's art, literature, philosophy. Then you will find a different India, which is really called air India, inner India, clean India. And if you get into the heart of India's soul, India's immortal soul, then you will be get into the heart of inmost India. So Indian civilization have laid, in Indian civilization, philosophy and religion have laid, the rest follows as best they can. Rest means Indian art, Indian philosophy, everything, Indian society. They only follow India's religion and philosophy. This is the first distinctive character of Indian civilization. But religion, you have to take it in the higher sense. Rather, you should replace the word religion by spirituality. And there is the second distinctive character of India's philosophy and religion, which you will not find anywhere in the world. And what is that character? Religion is enlightened by the philosophy. In India, religion is always enlightened by philosophy. Every religion has at least one philosophy of its own. Always, this is the peculiar relationship. It is not the case with West. And philosophy is made dynamic by religion. This is a very peculiar character of philosophy and religion in India. Religion enlightened by philosophy, and philosophy made dynamic by religion. Without religion, India's philosophy would have been inactive, would have been only theoretical thing. It is because of religion, India's philosophy are still a dynamic phenomenon. So Maharishi says, in Indian civilization, philosophy and religion, philosophy made dynamic by religion, religion enlightened by philosophy. This is indeed its first distinctive character, which is shared with the more developed Asiatic people. Yes, it is also the case with other Asiatic nations. But Maharishi says, India has carried it to an extraordinary degree of thoroughgoing pervasiveness. In India, it is thoroughgoing pervasive, that religion is enlightened by philosophy and philosophy made dynamic by religion. And it is not the case with Western world, which I will be deliberating later on. So this is the first character, the mutual relationship between religion and philosophy, and religion and philosophy have led, and the rest follows as best as they can. Then Indian civilization is called a Brahminical civilization. And lots of people have objection to it. But then what is the real essence of this conception? Why Indian civilization is called a Brahminical civilization? Maharishi says, the phrase cannot truly imply any domination of sacerdotalism. It is not the case of Purohit control. But because of this peculiar relationship that in Indian civilization, philosophy and religion have led, and religion enlightened by philosophy, and philosophy made dynamic by religion. Because of this, Indian civilization is called a Brahminical civilization. Not because of any sacerdotalism. Maharishi says, when it is spoken of as a Brahminical civilization, that is the real significance of the phrase. The phrase cannot truly imply any domination of sacerdotalism, though he has admitted, though in some lower aspect of the culture, the sacerdotal mind has been only too prominent. For the priest, as such, has had no hand in shaping the great lines of the culture. Priests could not shape. Priests have no hand. Priests have no hand in shaping the great lines of this culture. Then who shaped the great lines of this culture, if not priests? Then Maharishi says, but it is true. But it is true that its main motives have been shaped. By whom? Its main motives have been shaped by philosophic thinkers and religious minds, not by the priest. It is a tremendous misconception. Indian civilization was dictated not by priests, was dictated by rishis, thinker, religious mind, and the philosopher. And Maharishi is also aware of fact, not by any means all of them of Brahmin birth. Indian rishis were not, they are not all of Brahmin birth. It is another misconception. All credit goes to our late friends. I can give you many names. You can search on Google also. There are lots of non-Brahmins seers and sages in India, highly respected, highly revered. Even India has regarded somebody who is bastard as a sage. Have you heard his name? Satyakam Jabala. Satyakam Jabala was a bastard. And India has revered him. Satyakam Jabala was the Rajguru in the Ramos court. Now, modern feminism is demanding mother's name with their child's name. But this Jabala, Satyakam was known thousands of years ago by his mother's name. Jabala was his mother's name. Because mother was a servant. She served in many homes. So Jabala does not know who is his father. Even Yajnavalkya took him as his disciple. Ajatasattu, born in Sudra family, is a revered rishi. Stephen Viswamitra, who was a Kshatriya, ultimately became Brahmarshi. So there are lots of examples. Because at first, India's Varnashram was never based on birth system. So this is another misconception to be cleared up. So that is why Maharishi says, but it is true that its main motives have been shaped by philosophic thinkers and religious mind, not by any means all of them Brahmin birth. But Maharishi is also aware of the fact that a class has been developed. A class has been developed. And what was the function of that class? Maharishi says, the fact that a class has been developed, whose business was to preserve the spiritual tradition, knowledge and sacred law of the race. For this, and not a mere priest trade, was the proper occupation of Brahmin. Priest trade was not the main occupation of the Brahmin. What was the main occupation? To preserve the spiritual tradition, to preserve the knowledge, and to preserve the sacred law of the race. They were the preservers only. They were not the shapers of the main ideals of this race, but they were the preservers. And that this class could for thousands of years maintain in the greatest part, but not monopolize. Still, Brahmins could not monopolize it. But in greater part, he admitted that this class could for thousands of years maintain in the greatest part, but not monopolize the keeping of the national mind and conscience and conscience, and the direction of social principles, forms, and manners is only a characteristics indication. It is a characteristics indication of. But why it is called then Brahminical civilization? Because in Indian civilization, religion and philosophy have lived. Its main motives are shaped by religious mind and philosophical thinkers. And religion made enlightened by philosophy, and philosophy made dynamic by religion. So, then what is Indian culture from its very inception? Maharishi says the fact behind is that Indian culture has been from the beginning, and has remained, still it is remaining, same, a spiritual and inward-looking religio-philosophical culture. So this is the main character of Indian civilization or Indian culture. What is that characteristic? A spiritual and inward-looking religio-philosophical culture. And everything else in it, everything else has derived from that one central and original peculiarity. And that is why Maharishi in some other places says spirituality is the master key of Indian mind. With this master key, you can unlock every locks of India. Spirituality is the master key of Indian mind. And here he says, everything else in it means everything else in Indian culture has derived from that one central and original peculiarity. And what is that one and original peculiarity? The fact behind is that Indian culture has been from the beginning and has remained a spiritual and inward-looking religio-philosophical culture, or has been in some way dependent on it or subordinate to it. Even external life has been subjected to the inward look of the spirit. Though we are not fully successful in our external life, though we are not fully successful yet, comparatively, Indian society is a great success, comparatively only. But still, when a spirituality, the expression of spiritual thought in our external life is yet to be made an effective reality. It is not an effective reality yet. But this is the characteristics of Indian culture. It has been from the beginning, and it has still remained a spiritual and inward-looking religio-philosophical culture. A spiritual, inward-looking religio-philosophical culture. Everything else in Indian culture either has derived from this central conception or dependent on it. You may accept it, you may reject it. It is up to your wisdom. So this is the claim of Indian mind. We claim it, but whether entire world will accept it or not, it is up to their wisdom. That which is claimed for the Indian mind and its civilization is a high spirituality, high on all the summits of thought and religion, permitting art, literature, religious practice, and social ideas. Everything has been permitted into it, and affecting even the ordinary man's attitude to life. But all of we are skeptical, because we have not seen this thing in our actual life, and in that with respect to that thing, I can quote you one very beautiful passages from Sri Aurobindo, where he says that Indian culture is a right even to throw a challenge to rationalistic modernism and say, how Indian culture say? He writes, let me quote, attain first my level of spirituality. He was telling in a different way, they attain first my level of spirituality before you claim to destroy and supersede me. Attain first my level of spirituality before you claim to destroy and supersede me, or call on me to modernize myself entirely in your sense. No matter if no matter if I have myself laterally fallen from my own height, or if my present forms cannot meet all the requirements of the future mind of humanity, I can reascend. Maharishi says, this is the confidence that I can reascend. The power is there in me. I can reascend. The power is there in me. It may even be able to develop a spiritual modernity, which will help you in your effort to exceed yourself and arrive at a larger harmony than any you have reached in the past or can dream of in the present. So India has the power, though he has admitted that no matter if I have myself laterally fallen from my own height, and if my present forms cannot meet all the requirements of the future mind of humanity, I can reascend. I can reascend. The power is there in me. So now we can conclude here, and in the second session we will be discussing about religion and philosophy, the role of religion and philosophy in West. Thank you and namaskar.
Like